Hello everybody and welcome to the video and live streaming show. My name is John Lacey and I'm joined as always by Sam Proof. Today on the show we're going to be talking to Garrin Bulani from MicroStudio about all things video, live streaming and content creation. So that's coming up on today's show. We'd love to know where you're actually watching from too, so let us know in the chat where you happen to be. And I don't know if I always wonder whether to do this or not, but I keep trying to make Team Live something that happens. So if you're watching live, put hashtag Team Live in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Sam, I kind of already know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How's your week been this week?
It's a loaded question. Yeah, I mean, it's been ups and downs. It's Thanksgiving out here, so we did a lot of stuff. We had my wife teaches and her school puts together, good Lord, a Vittles dinner. So it's kind of like a big school-wide potluck. Everyone shows up. So that's something we always look forward to. What we don't look forward to is my daughter, who is sick on the couch right now. And we're just praying that it's not appendicitis. But yeah, she's not doing good. So if I come off as a little off today, then that's all that it is. Yeah, so cross your fingers. And how's everything with you, John?
Well, I mean, it's always been a busy week for me, but I guess the thing that has happened in the last week is I bought a new espresso machine. And I have to tell you, I'm completely in love with it.
Nice.
Coffee is my favorite thing in the world, so I'm very, very psyched about that. So obviously, it has been Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving for any Americans that are out there, including you, Sam. The illness aside.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get stuck into today's show. So we are talking to the man, the myth, the legend, Garrin Bulani. Let's bring him on.
What's up, y'all? Appreciate y'all having me. What's up, man?
And he brings his own sound effects. I love it.
Nice.
Always,
Nice.
we got the crowd showing up.
Okay, so I feel like depending on where you're watching this, you may already know who Garrin is, but I think maybe if you can just briefly introduce yourself to those who may not be familiar with your work.
Of course. I'm sure there's many that are still not familiar with myself, but my name is Garrin Bulani. I'm a professional live streamer and a content creator, and I'm a founder of a company called MicroStudio, which is a podcasting kit in a bag. So we're actually doing a backstage TikTok live stream. I've been live streaming on TikTok for the last 8 hours right now for an organization. So we're having a lot of fun today. So it's a pleasure to be here. I watch you all on LinkedIn quite frequently, so I appreciate what you both are doing. So thank you all for having me.
Awesome. Welcome to this side of the screen.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. It's funny. I was sort of talking to Garrin before we went live. We've been talking about this for a solid year, so it's amazing that it's finally sort of come together. But let's get stuck into it. And again, just if you are watching, if you've got questions for Garrin or comments, throw them in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. But let's actually just start. And I have some sense that this is sort of can you describe how you sort of got involved with online video in the first place? I understand there was some virtual sales involved.
That's what it was. So my background is sales. I did 8 years of door-to-door selling when I was during my university days, and then dove into the corporate world as most do in sales. And I did 5 years of paper shredding. So shout out Shred It. So I did that for 5 years. And then we, like a lot of other people, we had to start selling on video. And it was a quick switch for a lot of people. It was about 4 years ago. And then with the demographic and where I'm living right now, I had a lot of windshield time. I had a lot of traveling. I had a lot of all over the place. And it just got to the point where I was hopping on Zoom and I was having a lot of success with video sales because, of course, I was like everybody else. We ran to Costco. We got a $50 web camera just to try to kind of do our thing. And then I just saw right away immediately that I was having good success, good response. A lot of the attention span at that point was nice during a virtual meeting, and almost a shock because very few did the whole web camera thing. So that's where I had more of my aha moment. I'm like, oh, this is nice. I don't have to drive anywhere. I don't have to drive 2 hours to make the same amount of deals and stuff like that. So there's kind of an eye opener for that, which was pretty nice. And then just being in the corporate space and being on so many video meetings and like the whole shirt and tie thing. I was in corporate spaces where I know how much a lot of these people make and stuff like that. And now we're asking for $100,000 contracts over video, and it's like I can see up your nose, or you're standing in front of a window. It was really like an eye opener. I was like, oh wow, this is going to be a really huge problem in the corporate space on just video etiquette and proper ways to present yourself in a video setting. So I dove right into that. It took me about 3 months in the corporate space. Month 4, I just said I'm going to dive into this full swing. And it's weird that we're approaching the 4-year mark. It's sometimes when you're in entrepreneurship, it's just time is just a crazy blur. So that's kind of where I started, and then now we're here in my beautiful home studio where I do a lot of fun stuff when it comes to content creation.
Nice. I think it's an interesting coincidence that we got you on today, which is Black Friday, at least
Hey,
around this part of the world, which is notoriously the biggest sales day of the year. And with that, in especially like the past 3 months or so, we've seen sort of an explosion of like TikTok videos with the TikTok shops and like live sales and e-commerce like that. Do you think that we need to approach the differences of shorts and long form and live in a variety of different ways? Like, how do you think about those things?
it's funny you say that because that's exactly why I was live streaming on TikTok for the last 8 hours. I work with a company called Copenhagen Grooming. So they do hair and beard growth for males who suffer from hair loss or patchy beards. And that was the exact pitch that I sent off to them because I was doing short form content for them. We're having a lot of success. There's familiarity with what I'm doing. And I present, there's a lot of high e-commerce companies where you can have a virtual representative representing your organization, going through the education aspect of whatever the product is, answering questions in real time to almost be like a customer support option. And it's a lot of companies are starting to they're starting to catch on, or they're seeing the opportunity. The more people I get in front of it, and I have video demos that I send out to the masses now, to the point where it's like, oh, this is kind of a cool opportunity. So this is exactly what I'm doing right behind here. I'm gathering relative evidence, but I've been live streaming on TikTok for maybe like 6-7 days. So it's new for me, right? Because there's criteria. I'll live stream on LinkedIn the whole time, but this is just a whole new world for me. But the analytics and the statistics you get on the back half that demonstrates who your audience is, it's phenomenal. And just by doing it in a short amount of time. So I'm putting together that's kind of my next road into 2024, is putting together this whole case study around short form video vertical selling, but more specifically on the smartphone, which is not something I say. And John, you know this, I love tech and I love having the video cameras and the OBS and stuff, but I will come back to what I'm thinking. By finding a lot of evidence, you get a lot more traction on the actual smartphone opposed to using their OBS style for TikTok. But that's like 6 days of research. So take that for a grain of salt, audience.
Sure.
And I guess like that's the thing. And obviously I think people will get some sense of the amazing setup that you've got around you. But in some ways, a lot of people are just working straight from their phones, and they're having a lot of success with that. And it's funny, I've always been a bit of a desktop creator, and I hate doing anything on my phone. But I'm reaching a point now where I think I kind of need to incorporate it into some of my processes. So it's really interesting to watch that space. I do want to sort of go back to the sales training for a moment, though. I mean, obviously, you saw the benefit of doing that, and you committed to it and saw great results. Were you surprised at what a tough sell that was for your colleagues and other people around you?
I mean, it's just the concept of video, and many people are still worried about that and showing up on a virtual setting on camera and stuff like that. So I can understand why there's difficulty on that, but I mean, I wasn't really surprised. The adaptability is very low when it comes to video and video marketing. However, this is the best way to replicate yourself. And I put myself in a situation where I am a sales representative again, and I just think about the amount of times where I said the same pitch over and over again, or I answered the same questions over and over again, or brief introduction, and recording that once and just having an opportunity as like a top funnel strategy where you send these videos to different clients. It saves you a lot of time and a lot of energy, but I feel many people don't really you don't see the immediate results from video right away. So you do it for a while, then you give up, just like anything, right? So it is definitely a long-term play, but it's made my life a lot easier as a sales professional. I mean, I run an organization now, so I am directly into sales a lot, but I'm finding I'm getting a lot of inbound leads now consistently just through seeing you on video, or in my home city where I live. a lot of people see me on LinkedIn, and then am in a social setting, and they say, I recognize you from somewhere. I've seen you on LinkedIn before. And then there's that immediate kind of icebreaker to where it's a simple conversation. And that's all from video. That's 4 years consistent video. So I'm the hesitant one I've been down that path, and I'm just trying to come back and let people know it's a long-term game, but it's a very rewarding game, and regardless of what niche or market you're in.
Yeah, and I guess you know, to some extent, like it's really important that people are able to see who you are, and we're going to talk about sort of getting more comfortable on camera a little bit later on. But I mean, there's a huge difference, like on LinkedIn, if you're someone who doesn't even have a profile pic and never posts any content versus being somebody that consistently shows up and shares in that regard. We are going to talk about MicroStudio specifically in the next segment, Garrin, but I'm just wondering, like, in terms of software, like, what are you using? What are your clients using? What are you recommending at the moment?
Anything that's free and cost effective, that's simplicity. CapCut, game changer as far as video editing. The only time I do all of my edits in-house, and everything that you see my content up to this point has been all house and all me. If it's not green screen related, it's at CapCut. The only time I go off at CapCut is doing more detailed and fine-tuning of a green screen, and that's where I'm using DaVinci Resolve. However, CapCut is an extremely useful platform, and you can even be a social media or video editor on the desktop CapCut. It's a very, very easy tool. Restream is another simple tool. I mean, we're on StreamYard right now, so I mean, shout out to both streaming platforms, but having a free platform like this is a very simplified aspect where you can get your podcast, your live stream, or anything out that doesn't cost any money. And I mean, we can go into more complex stuff like OBS and everything, but from a 6-day TikTok live streamer, the TikTok OBS desktop style is extremely user-friendly, very customized, and you can treat it just like an OBS. So I'm really excited to come out with some training onto that too. So CapCut's the main thing, and Restream or a StreamYard are kind of the two main things as far as video. And then Vidyard or a Loom or a BombBomb type thing is where you send out your video messaging and everything like that. So those are top 3, I would say.
So out of curiosity, you were saying you were doing a lot of TikTok from the mobile phone directly. Do you have any accessories plugged into that, or are you just going straight off?
I would have I have a microphone, of course. Yep. Always have a microphone. As much as I'm a huge video guy, when I first started out, I was huge on video, but audio is numero uno. And then I mean, you can get one for $15, and the audio quality is extremely, extremely good. So I have that, and I have it on a wireless, and then just through the smartphone. So, I mean, you have an audio clip like that, a lavalier as far as equipment goes, but I mean, we can dive into that with the MicroStudio segment with the whole gadgetry and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And I should check in with the comments because I've been a bit distracted. Hello to Walter Strong III, who's saying good evening. And hello to Garrin as well. Florence Love on LinkedIn is apparently a big fan of yours, Garrin.
Thank you. Welcome. She's hanging out with me on the back stream live stream right now.
Nice. Florence is also saying right now she's doing everything on her phone but looking to invest in a camera. Nice. Awesome. And thanks for that bit of feedback, Insomnia Doodles. It's great to know. All right, so we'll be back in just a moment. We're going to talk all things MicroStudio, so we'll be back with you in just a second.
We are constantly training our cats every interaction that we have with them. Mm-hmm. So when Johan would get on my counter before, this is 10 years ago, before I was the cat expert that I am now, Johan would jump on the counter. What was the first thing I did? I'd say his name, Johan. He loves that. That's a reward for him. He said, you just said my name. I would go over to him and I'd talk to him and be like, you can't be on the counter. Johan loves when I talk to him. Ding, that's another reward for Johan. I'd pick him up and put him on the ground, but I didn't want him to think I was mad at him. So when I'd pick him up very nicely and kiss him on the head and say, I love you, but you can't be here. I'd put him on the ground. I had just done 3 things that rewarded him for being on the counter. So I was encouraging him to continue doing that.
And that's a promo for Sam's podcast, Just Kidding Around, which you can learn more about over at cuteavalanche.com. This is the video and live streaming show. Today we're talking with Garrin Bulani about all things video, influencing, and now MicroStudio. So, Garrin, tell us about MicroStudio. I mean, I often sort of mention the tagline when it's time to go grab your MicroStudio, but what exactly is it?
Yes, it's kind of my pet project, I guess, with what I'm doing with virtual sales and everything like that, because I knew one of the biggest issues that I had over the last 4 years is buying equipment that was good for the short term, but as you grow into video and as you dive more into it, you both know this as far as the upgrades and equipment you thought was good, and then you realize, oh, it was kind of a short term pace. So it was a lot of stuff, a lot of mistakes, financial mistakes that I made that were I just wanted to create a kit that was simplified. And I'm extremely fortunate to be in a position where I'm in a home studio. But at that point, I knew there was going to be a time where I'm going to have to travel, or I'm going to have to go to different meetings and go around. And for someone who just spent the last 3 years at that point advocating for video and not showing up on a basic webcam and just showing up with that, I was like, okay, well, I got to create something for myself to go. And that's where this whole podcast in a bag came from, was just knowing that I'm going to have to start traveling somewhere, and not everybody has an opportunity to have a home studio per se. So being able to bring a simplified version where you can show up exactly how you're watching right now, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg because you know all of the equipment that you're getting. Now, saying that, technology changes very quick, right?
Yeah.
So I know Florence was talking about investing in a camera and everything, but the iPhone 15 was just launched, and we got a USB-C port in, where you can just plug it in directly into your laptop. So I'm excited to upgrade my phone and see how I can incorporate something like that into the MicroStudio, to the point where you might not need to get a mirrorless camera. As much as that hurts my heart to say, it's because it's beautiful. There's no question it has superior video to like an iPhone at this, but not superior, but significantly better in doing post, especially when you have a lens on it. But there is a technical aspect to running a mirrorless camera that I realize that I love doing, but not everybody loves doing, right? So the idea is trying to simplify it and fine tune it. So I'm excited to have a point where, and especially I think about TikTok live streaming and just how that platform can you just plug in with your laptop and you can be a TikTok live streamer with the phone. So that's kind of the direction where I'm going. I would love to test out and do that. However, because I funded MicroStudio myself, I did everything best bang for your buck. So if you want to talk about getting a mirrorless camera, I'm a big fan of the Canon Mark II with a Sigma lens, right? You don't have to go out and get a $3,000 Sony camera or anything like that. And there's probably more stuff that's come out that I haven't stayed on top of when it comes to equipment, because I had gear syndrome. I had to chill out for a little bit. So I have everything that I need and everything like that right now. So it's just cool how technology changes, and that's how MicroStudio is going to grow. But the fundamentals of showing up on video, the fundamentals of producing high quality content at a consistent basis, day in, day out, don't care about the likes, don't care about the engagement. You just do it because you need to do it as your professional brand, as who you are, is extremely powerful. And I talk about this too, because especially being in the corporate space, you see this all the time where you get a lot of people get laid off. Stuff happens, you lose your job and everything, and you get thrown down where you're okay, I have to find another position or another role. What's interesting, and I've seen it on LinkedIn, is a few people getting let go, but they've created a mass amount of content for just themselves because they're just a business development representative for a tire sales company, right? What does that matter? However, people see that and people monitor that. And then when you actually get to a point, it's like, hey, I need to get a role, I just got let go. The rebound to getting a new job or something is considerably higher because you, again, recognize you've seen you on video, that's kind of the power of video if you're not trying to go to this big viral, per se, influential type role type thing.
And it's interesting that you say that, because part of the reason I create the content that I do these days is for that specific reason. Like when the pandemic happened, I was a face-to-face teacher. My work dried up over the course of a couple of weeks, and I was fortunate in the sense that I was able to find another job shortly afterwards, but I was just very conscious that like nobody knew who I was or what I was capable of. And it's very confusing to a lot of people on LinkedIn, because sometimes they'll come to me and they'll be like, oh yes, I want to work with you. And I'm like, I don't really have the time to work with you. I literally have a full-time job, but I'm happy to sort of help you out and point you to some resources. But I guess, you know, it's great that you can sort of make those recommendations and essentially put together a physical kit, whether that's a home studio or something a little bit more portable, so they can grab and go. But I guess the other thing too that I've noticed about MicroStudio is the educational aspect of it, and I guess to some extent, you know, you've already alluded to the fact that you're doing live production as well. So could you maybe speak to those two things a little bit?
Course. So, and that's again going into this, coming out of the sales world, I wanted to be a virtual sales trainer, or sales trainer per se, was kind of the avenue that I was going down and wanting to create. And I mean, that's, and I want to go, I mean, we go back to the equipment and everything like that too. I mean, there's two kind of segments that's going on, but again, you can have all the equipment, you can have all this technology. And I realize that because I've sold a bunch of MicroStudio kits, pre-assembled podcast kits. And they realized, oh, they weren't creating as much content as I thought they would when they got it, or they weren't being as consistent as I thought they would. And it really comes down to having an accountability group to it, or accountability aspect to it, continual education, because it is a lot to learn. Once you learn the basics, it's very simple and going, but being able to efficiently use the equipment, efficiently being able to produce the high quality content. So that's where I really enjoy doing it. And that's how I personally leverage live streaming. And that's how I leverage content creation, because I mean, it's the influential world is not the world that I want to go down. It's just, it's because I'm a face of a brand. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a solopreneur. I have to market myself as the brand of the company. So that's just the result of what I'm truly trying to do, is educate people on the power of building a professional brand through video, how to properly show up on video looking professional, regardless if you're in the kitchen table or anything. And I have a demo of that where you can, you know, use a simple software like OBS. You can completely change your surroundings where you are right now. And there's just small efforts like that, but bringing that into a corporate space, because where I am right now, and I go into corporate spaces, they're still so far behind and there's still so much work to do. And that's where I'm dove into the electronics, the Elgatos and all of the equipment. So I'm bringing the streaming world, and I want to bring it into the corporate space, because there's no reason why Timothy in mom's basement is playing Fortnite through OBS and the presentation is great and you look good, and then you have John, there's the 50th floor of a skyscraper of a multi-billion-dollar company, it can't work the camera and stuff like that. It's a presentation aspect of it, right? You remove the video game with a quarterly earnings or a podcast or anything like that, you dramatically change the viewership and how people perceive you. It's perception on you and online, right? It's just like why you wear a shirt and tie when you go into the corporate space, right? And that's the importance of that. So bringing that into the corporate space, again, you want to go into an interview, you put me in a Zoom interview for any job and I show up like this, you think I might get a second interview, you know, even if I'm unqualified and stuff like that, right? There's a power aspect to it, and there's a way where you can capture viewers and go into a room in a video setting. So that's where the equipment and everything comes into play. But because I've been doing that, again, I want to teach everybody to do that. And that's where I think this whole TikTok live streaming is kind of cool, because I can go into there as an educator and there's live subscriptions built into it. So it's a world of abundance when it comes to creation and education.
Cool.
And I guess it's interesting. Sorry, Sam, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll ask after.
Okay, I was just gonna say, like, that's kind of my thing, is that I don't need to explain to kids playing games what OBS Studio is, because they know what it is. They seek out their resources. But for me, one of the greatest features of OBS Studio is the virtual camera. Like, you don't need to, even just to change how you physically appear on webcam meeting, whether that's in Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever. Like, it's very easy to make those changes and have calls to action and QR codes and text within your frame. But it's been interesting to me what a hard sell that is to small business people and business corporate people in general. And again, I know another friend of yours, Garrin Parkins, does some great stuff with that, with Desk Rig as well. And I just find it really interesting that, you know, some people are clearly ready to be on camera and some people say they want to be, but they just can't bring themselves to be there. I guess, how do you sort of evaluate whether someone's actually ready to commit properly?
Yeah, they got to want to go on video, of course, is the main thing. I think as far as working in the corporate space and hiring, you need to find an evangelist or somebody who's comfortable on video. What's interesting, especially I'm 32, so I'm relatively young, but when I go to these networking events, and I talk to these university students and I show them what I do, and I show them, hey, this is my working space. There's a huge economy that's growing up right now that are very comfortable being on video, and they're more than okay than being on video. So there's, again, I'm just in the middle space where there's the corporate space that, you know, they're doing their thing, and you think about corporate, it's like a big giant cruise ship. You try to steer that whole thing into a certain direction. It takes long, and you need to think about the emphasis of video is only about 4 years, right? The actual, it's like, oh, we need to implement video right away. It's only been 4 years. So that's not very long as far as implementing a whole program and a procedure, let alone demonstrating proof of concept to a whole corporate company with that. So you need to want to go on video, and you will know that feeling. If you're comfortable going on video, you can't just try to tell someone to do that. And I think that's what's kind of cool about the market. You're going to have a category of individuals who are cool to be on video, and they can be your virtual sales training team. And then you can have people that, yeah, want to be on the back half of maybe the production. Maybe we can run the production for these live streams, because again, I'm doing everything in house, but you can have a production team, you can have a virtual sales team, and right, for those people who value video. But there is a huge demographic that's coming up who understands the power of video. So I'll be there to catch them all.
Nice. So Walter had a really good question, which is, can a person in the business or personally utilize MicroStudio Kit on Instagram Live, or is TikTok the preferred destination?
Great question. And, you know, to add on to what you said, John, is about with OBS, it's simple. I have OBS built out, right? And you can import it to any computer, right? So I have a whole stage, and I've actually worked with companies where okay, part of the deal is I'm going to build your team a whole OBS studio. We'll customize it to your branding. We'll come into your place. We'll put it onto every single computer. And then this is where my training comes in, is where I'll educate everybody on how to use that and everything. So, I mean, the MicroStudio kit, the actual kit comes with an OBS configuration, and it actually comes with a Stream Deck configuration where it's plug and play.
Nice.
You hit a couple buttons and it runs the whole live stream. It's 2 imports, right? So you talk about being able to mass produce that. Once you have the stages built on OBS, that's a currency. So which is what I value huge on that. So I mean, definitely can use the MicroStudio kit, because the MicroStudio is actually the education within the actual hardware of all the equipment. TikTok is just another avenue. It's not a this or that. It's like there's ways to make money on every social media platform. There's going to be more social media platforms that come out right now. I'm not saying corporate needs to go onto TikTok live streaming, but corporate can probably step up their game on webinars, right? They all still have webinars. They all still have video meetings. I bet you they can all maybe put a little bit more effort where they can look half decent in it. And then once you start doing that, you start solving the content creation problem. Because the amount of clips we're going to get out of this live stream and this podcast can take care of my content for a month, right? So it's for those who maybe struggle with creating these kind of funny ideas and trying to stand out, you utilize these live streams and these questions to short form the content for it. So that even simplifying it for corporate in itself.
Absolutely. Okay, I just want to check in with the chat as well. Hello to Doug Lehman, in layman's terms, over on LinkedIn.
Hello,
thank you for joining us. And Florence was saying thank you for the information about the iPhone. I must admit, I'm not an Apple guy, but even I'm sort of considering getting an iPhone 15. I love that they've kind of gone to USB-C. I think that's amazing. So yeah, we'll watch that space and see how that works.
Hopefully.
Okay, cool. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in a second. We're going to be talking about Garrin's work as an influencer. So that's coming up in just a moment.
And then I looked at the first assessment, and the first assessment was record a 5-minute video, and it was a pretty simple introduction of yourself. There was nothing exciting. I didn't have to research. It was just a 5-minute warm-up, and I freaked out. That course is still sitting in the cupboard beside me. I see that stack of papers and I almost rock in the corner. It cost me a lot of money to sign up, and I threw the whole course away.
And that's Michelle J. Raymond talking about overcoming her struggles on being in terms of being on camera on my podcast, which you can learn more about over at johnlacey.com. But today we're talking to Garrin Bulani about all things video and MicroStudio, and now being an influencer. So I guess, you know, obviously, I get the feeling that MicroStudio is the place where you started, but obviously you sense the power of actually being visible and sharing things and now sort of promoting other people's products and services. Can you tell us how that sort of came together?
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know if I love the term influencer. You know, influencer just makes you
Mm.
feel like it's like everybody has an influence on some degree and
Like,
everything like
might
that.
as well be manipulator. Like,
Yeah, so right, it could be. So I mean, and that's the content creation in the influential world is shifting, right? It's starting. I mean, yes, you can be a good looking person and you can say swipe up to get 10% and stuff like that, but that's very far and few between as far as that. So that's I think the stigma of influence comes in, but I do a lot of stuff. I'm more than just a nice smile and a good hairline. I do a lot of crazy things. But again, this is just because I'm founded MicroStudio. I need to do marketing for MicroStudio, and MicroStudio is a live streaming company. It's just kind of all intertwining with itself. And then a lot of these corporate companies or e-commerce companies are wanting some sort of sense of just a proof of concept that this works. And that's where it started out with this UGC content creation. So just short form videos that I'm working with companies. And I do that. I've been doing that by myself just for the fun of it all the time. So I say I can go to these I can go to these companies. And this is kind of the power of video now. I have a whole portfolio of different short form funny commercials that I did, just what you're seeing right now. And I send that on the daily and I say, hey, I work with UGC. Would you like to work together? Right. And I get these algorithms and I get these advertisements on social media all the time. I wait for the advertisements because the algorithm knows what I like. So 9 times out of 10, that advertisement, I'm probably going to like the product. And if it's a user generated or an influential style commercial, I'll reach out to them right away. And that's where I'm getting my top level funnel. So it's just another revenue stream for what I'm doing and being the face of a company. And again, just because I'm the face of the company with live streaming, just think of yourself as being the face of your organization or your brand, whether you're insurance or you're an accountant or you're a lawyer or you're a doctor, whatever it is, you're the face of some sort of organization. This is just the buy factor. So maybe you're not getting brand deals with a hair growth company out of Denmark, but maybe you're getting another partnership or a deal with the local company that owns 7 shops in the state or something like that, right? That's kind of the effect of rather than chasing brand deals, you can gather book of business within your personal brand and your respected niche is also. I mean, the influential world is fun with what I'm doing. I'm not going to be beautiful ever. I'm going to be wrinkly and old one day too. So I'm just trying to capitalize on the opportunity that I have when it comes to content creation. And again, I'm getting case studies behind this, and I'm getting actual statistics where I can go to companies now and say, hey, this has worked because I've done that with this company and did this with that company. And then it'll start to separate myself where we can start building a business based around that.
so are you getting your UGC deals 100% through cold queries?
Well, not mostly. I would say a high percentage of them cold calling, and I'm reaching out and I'm building. And a lot of times, they say, hey, we appreciate your content. We're just not looking, or we don't have a campaign right now, or we don't have any mark, we don't have anything set up. So it's just telling people what I'm doing, because I 0.00001 people in this world know me. Nobody knows who I am, right? So it's my job as a personal brand to reach out to people and show, hey, this is my portfolio. This is what I do. But again, I did one video on TikTok, and they saw me on TikTok and they reached out to me to do a UGC deal because of one video. And the payment from that one video was good enough to make me realize that this is a very substantial, it's a profession and you can make a very good living at it. It's just a matter of staying committed to it, because you don't just make 200 videos and go viral, right? I mean, you can sometimes, right? There's a short percentage, but if you're trying to build a brand behind it and build influence behind it where people actually trust what you say, then you got to work towards that. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to get every single brand deal. I don't want to reach out to every company and everybody that gives me an opportunity. I'm putting my name behind it, right? Because I don't want to just be this Amazon sales shop. There's a brand that I personally have that I want to be perceived to. So when I reach out to these companies, I'm just as much interviewing them as vice versa. It's like, does your company work? Is it good? Is it my values? And right. So that's kind of the strategy I have. It's not an abundance for me. I work with a small handful of companies, and it's powerful enough to do enough damage rather than just trying to spread myself thin to find every and anything that will give me a brand deal kind of thing, just for the sake of it.
Do you think you approach these sort of UGC videos differently than like your personal videos?
I mean, as far as and that's what's kind of fun about the UGCs. They provide me the script. They provide me with the style of how they want it to look. So it actually makes my job a lot easier but my UGC videos, my personal brand, I'm representing me, so there's less at stake, right? I'm okay with doing whatever I want to do, but if you're representing another brand, there's kind of more steps and procedures you have to go through just to make sure you're not throwing something out there. But a lot of my content, I wake up in the morning, I have some sort of inspiration in the morning, and because of this beautiful place I work in, I'm producing it by a couple hours later kind of thing. So I just do it just for the fun of it. But because I have that authenticity and I do it for the fun of it, people typically see that through the videos. And because I have so many variations of what I'm doing, I can usually capture, do you want this style of video or this style of video? And then a lot of companies are choosing from the portfolio, and it just makes my job a lot easier because I'm just recreating that scene or that style of video, but just a different script, different words, and I'm saying it for a company now. So it's kind of cool because this is all just transpiring within maybe the last, I'd say, month that I have this pool, a portfolio that I'm sending to companies, and they're actually listening to me kind of thing. So it's really cool.
So I guess, like, what kind of things do you think people should keep in mind if they're making content to promote a specific product or service or brand?
I mean, yeah, it's whatever their goals are, right? Not everybody wants to be the viral person constantly on camera, getting all the likes and stuff. It's not like, I don't even want to be that person. I'm just doing it just because I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm just having fun doing it kind of thing. So it shouldn't always be for the fame aspect of it. What I find I like with video, what I've been noticing is just, I see some of my previous videos and I'm like, oh man, like I felt like a long time ago. And it was only like maybe 4 or 5 months ago. I was like, oh dang, like the personal growth and like the development that you notice kind of from that is a rewarding feeling for me, just getting away from like the finances and stuff and why creating video behind it. It's validating just when if you're constantly putting stuff out and you're constantly trying to change and just grow, you're going to get better eventually. Right. So that's where, if you're constantly doing it, that's where you're going to be able to get the actual inspiration from as far as getting the video and everything. But keep in mind, it's got to be something that you like. And that's what's kind of cool about user-generated content is you can go look wherever your consumable goods are. It's Black Friday, so you probably just bought a bunch of stuff. What brands did you buy? You know, we got Ray-Bans here. We got Nerf guns here. Like you have the stuff that you use and like it. That's where you can reach out to companies and you can give them an honest review. Hey, I bought this Nerf gun. I really love what you guys do. And I'll send them a video thanking that. And it's just a lot of the times that's where you can break or you can get some sort of relationship with that company or knowing what the avenue is, if that's what your goal is. But if you want to be user-generated content, use the products that you have and reach out to those companies and just give them genuine reviews of because that's what organizations are looking for, right? You know, because when I do a lot of my commercials, they don't work as much as some people would think sometimes with some of these videos, because it's like, oh, he already has a good hairline or something like that. So the buying review. But if you start getting honest reviews of people who are using it, companies thrive off of that and they want to utilize that a lot more because it brings in that authenticity with it. So it's important to work with the companies that you actually like and you use constantly, and you can put your name behind it. But that's such a small sector of people. I think if you're struggling to get on video, the last thing on your mind is trying to get brand deals in reality. Kind of thing. So that's a very small market. I think they're trying to capture that.
I didn't even have this on my agenda for today, but I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent and a bit of a rant about TikTok specifically, because as someone who watches an obscene amount of TikTok, it's always surprising to me because most of the videos are sort of made in similar fashion with similar equipments and, you know, cameras and phones and microphones and whatnot. But I can usually tell within 1 second if it's a quote-unquote influencer marketing video because, and I don't know if this is true for the entire world, but especially here in Australia, Australian influencers put on a promotional voice. And the minute I hear that voice, I sort of flick away and I go, I know I'm being advertised to. And I guess there is that trope. But I guess the other thing I did notice about some of your recent TikToks is you're also sort of using that text-to-speech kind of voice, which is something that I guess we're seeing more and more of on TikTok. I'm just curious, like, how do you make those kinds of decisions?
Trial and error. I don't like it personally because, again, it's like that robot aspect to it. But again, this comes down to the influential aspect. I mean, if we want to talk about my social presence, the only good social presence I have is LinkedIn, which is about 7,000, which is hard work and everything. But every other social platform, I have maybe less than 2,000 followers. So like the influential world is not huge, but again, me trying to find statistics and data behind it, because TikTok gives so much back to me when I post a video. It shows me so much stuff of where the viewers died off and what demo, like it gives me so much information that I can start analyzing these videos. Where if I put a video on LinkedIn, I get the likes and this and that. I'm like, well, did they stop watching at 3 seconds? Did I get their attention span for 25% of the video? And you get all of those analytics on TikTok, which is why I'm using that to find out where I'm going wrong, right? So there was a couple of videos where text to voice, it's like, maybe let's see if it pops off better, if it gets better traction, and goes from there, right? So I think I don't like the robot voice, but I think the English language, and we all different accents and everything like that, right? So having a generic voice might be easier for people to listen to, just because I got a lot of slang when I talk to, and especially when I talk fast. So that was kind of the strategy behind that. I don't like that. But again, there's a lot of stuff on TikTok that goes off that I don't like and I don't understand. I'm not trying to make up the game. I'm just trying to figure out the rules and just figure out how to maneuver through it, kind of thing, right? So
You talk a lot about the stats, and I know earlier you mentioned Restream. So I assume you're doing this not just to TikTok, but other places as well. How does it compare to like a YouTube experience?
good question. So Restream is really nice as far as just being able to mass send out, and that's what I really love about Restream as far as that. I haven't done enough YouTube to be able to analyze the stats behind that, so that's another thing. As a one-person show, there's so many social media platforms. I tell people to pick a top 3 and then just really hyper focus in it. So what I've been doing over the last 4 years, LinkedIn has been my top priority. I probably, I put like a 90% threshold as far as social output, and then unfortunately like the 10% to everywhere else, but you can't grow that fast. So I've been, over the last year, I shifted my LinkedIn to maybe about 40% output, and then more on my Instagram, built out my Instagram a lot more, and then starting to dive more into TikTok. YouTube, I just know it's a beast, and you can, once you crack it, it's great, but it's just like, I feel like I would like to build up to have and then just outsource a YouTube team rather than trying to figure it out. Because trying to figure out a social media platform, one of them, and like know how to analyze it, it's very, very hard. So for me to try to hip hop and all these different platforms, it's just, it's going to spread myself thin. So really what I want to do is focus on one platform and outsource everything else. So I mean, shout out, 82 subscribers, about 211 videos, right? That's the stuff that I look at, and I don't put any marketing dollars behind any of it. And a lot of that stuff is trial and error. You'll see some really bad live streams on there. And I would like to think, again, this is going back to compound effective video. Go back on there and see where I first started. There's people who are intimidated because they see where I'm at right now. It's like, go check the receipts. They're all there. Go to my LinkedIn. Go create my LinkedIn, man. They're all there. The bad audio, the terrible picture, but the message and the dedication, the consistency, it's all there. I'm a 32-year-old guy. You give me 10 more years of creating content like this, I'm going to find 100,000 people in this world that will listen to me, right? Like, it's there, but it's just a long-term game. And because we're so drilled into attention span in 1 second and 5 seconds and capturing this, it's like people think you try to get, and then of course we're all bombarded with the get rich quick and the Lamborghinis and all of this stuff. It's like people don't see that it takes decades to get that stuff for most time, right? There's the 1% that can make it, figure it out, but for most the average Joe, you can do it, but it's like a 20-year project. It's not a 1-year project, right? And that's where I think people lose sight. And implementing video with that same strategy in anything in life, you'll shift your focus immensely.
I always feel like the worst possible YouTube advice is be Mr. Beast, because that is so far removed from anybody's experience. It's just not even helpful at all. So I see in the chat, hello to Kid Blood, who's joining us over on YouTube, and Insomnia Doodles has a couple of comments here. Might try the second one. How do you balance your viewers' interests and your own need to make money via product promotion?
Yeah, great question. I mean, viewers' interest has never been about the views for me. It's about the actual process of creating videos and going through it. So again, you'll kill yourself if you just focus hype. If you go on just the views and the engagement and the actual reaction of what you get from posting a video, you'll burn out and you won't want to do it. So if you remove that aspect of it and really hone in on your craft, I laugh about Mr. Beast, but I look at Mr. Beast, and if like he's like the Michael Jordan, like there's a bunch of other basketball players that are making great money that are in different leagues and different categories. So if he's like the person to achieve and he's 25, he's going to be pushing the market. So he's going to be creating job and opportunities for this. It's going to be a huge umbrella effect behind it, right? So maybe I'll be a baby beast. I won't be a Mr. Beast with that, but staying away from the viewers. But money and product is, I mean, people need to make money, right? There's always kind of this shame behind it of making money off of videos and everything. And I struggle with that for a while, is just the concept of working with companies. And the thing is, and this is where it comes to a moral thing, right? With me, I'm not going to promote a product that I don't like, but they don't pay me to talk about the product. They pay me to make the videos because I make the videos. And we all know to sit down and do editing of videos that takes work, right? So there's more than just the message and the influence that comes with it. I'm getting paid on the back half because they like my videos. And then I'm like, hey, you like my videos? I'd love to make videos for you. By the way, I love your product, so let me promote your product. There's been a lot of companies where I'll edit their videos, but I won't put my face behind it. I won't post it on my page. I'll edit their videos for them, right? So there's that aspect of the actual market that's really important, to post to just think about being the face and trying to be the influencer and stuff. If you want to be a video editor, go to people like me, go to sales professionals like me who know they need to make more content, and say, hey, I love video editors. Here's my portfolio. Take this and see if you want. I get bombarded with that on Instagram and everything like that all the time. So there's a creator economy market. So I know we're talking about being the influential world, but if you're wanting to capture this influential marketing and video marketing and live streaming market, you will get paid to be a remote producer, hands down. People need more remote producers, right? People like you, because what I'm doing with running a production, man, it's a lot of work. You guys both know this. It's a lot of friggin' work to do the whole thing. So if I could show up that's why I love showing up like this. I just show up, man, and I talk. When I'm doing my own shows, man, I'm stream decking. I'm making sure audio is good. I'm making sure lighting. It's a lot of work, but there's a whole market for that also too. So it's not about that. So it's, again, I'm not afraid to make money. You know, there's a craft to being able to have a communication skills or do video editing, but you know, you're not going to get a product that'll sell or give you money right away on a product just because they want it. Like, you have to have some sort of talent for them to want to work with you, right?
Yeah. So are you still wearing all the hats, or have you started to outsource?
I'm starting to outsource. I used to be very proud of saying I'm the one band band, but I joined a coaching academy in August, and I learned quickly that that's not as cool as you think it is. Because again, it's you know what I mean, I'm very proud of what I did, because I taught myself a lot of stuff, and now I'm confident I can go into an organization. I can go into a producer room and I can have producers with me, but I know what I'm talking about, right? Because I've done it. I've put my work into it, but it's just with what I'm doing, it's not a hobby, right? And if I want to keep it a hobby, I can do this, but I can be a sales rep all my life, but it's like I have a company. I have to build this company. I can't just be the sales rep, and I can't just be, so it's finding where I'm good at and where I need to be. And for me, it's the live streaming, but there's a lot of back half administrative work, booking appointments. I wholeheartedly would love, I'm planning what MicroStudio for the long-term gentleman for 10 years is, you're in an airport and there's those soundproof rooms. You just go in there. There's going to be a MicroStudio in there. There's going to have my live demo on there, or you have to have a certification to go into the room you know how to use the equipment. Go in there, you produce your content, you leave, hop on a plane. By the time you land, you get a notification on your phone. All of your content's been produced for you, or your podcast's been produced for you, right? So I think there's going to be franchises where you go to a city, you go to a podcast station, a content creation station, which is going to be franchised named MicroStudio, and you go there and you can rent out these places and stuff like that. So that's the big term vision of MicroStudio. However, when you build an empire, it's very, very short. So I will remember this 10 by 10 square, because it's truly a magical place, but I know we're going to bigger and better places with this.
Nice. Okay, so we're going to come back and talk about some potential first steps that you might want to take if you do want to dip your toe into the world of online video, so stay tuned.
If you've been watching us for a while, or this is your first time and you're thinking, Sam, John, this is great stuff, but I'm wearing a lot of hats already and I don't need to add this to my list of things that I'm doing, but I really want to live stream, I've got you covered. I've been a freelance technical director and stream operator for 20 years, and I can help you either with one-on-one counseling, setups of shows, or even run your whole show for you. Get in touch with me, samproof@gmail.com, or find out more at samproof.tv.
There, you should just ran the commercial rather than me going on a rant like that. There you go. Hire Sam.
It was such a great setup for that one. Yeah. Okay, so this is the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey, and I'm joined by Sam Proof, and today we're talking to Garrin Bulani from MicroStudio. And I guess as we come to sort of wrap up this hour, I really want to think about if there is somebody who is maybe on the sidelines who might want to take a first sort of tentative step into the world of online video. whether that's live, whether that's sort of YouTube Shorts or what have you. I guess, Garrin, where do you recommend people actually start? I know that's a big question, but
Yeah, you can start in the mirror just by looking at yourself and building confidence, having a conversation with yourself. I know it sounds really, really weird, but if a lot of the time it lacks confidence in yourself, you don't want to get on video. There's something that's holding you back and everything like that. So first, starting from the ground basics, positive affirmation to yourself in the mirror is extremely empowering. It'll make you start feeling more confident about yourself and your abilities. And then when we go into video, you don't have to record it, because everybody's scared of how long it's going to take on video and how awkward you are at the start. And you probably will be a little awkward turtle at the start, and that's okay. But that's how everybody starts with anything. So if you're wanting to just get started and you just get in front of the camera, record it, you don't have to post it. But you have to watch yourself, unfortunately. You have to do the cringe word version of watching yourself and analyzing yourself. That's probably the worst thing with me editing myself, is I constantly have to listen to myself all the time. But that's how you get better, right? You can see your tone, your enunciation, how your facial expressions are when you're talking, right? And then you can start working on those things. And then as you start doing it more and more, you become more confident when it comes to video with that. So that's where the baseline, I think. We all have our cell phones. We all have the camera. You can record, but you don't have to post. You can send it to a friend. You feel confident with somebody, if you have a good accountability partner or something like that wants to get better on video, you can go on a baseline like that. YouTube's great. I got your virtual event checklist. We talked about this. So when I first started out doing live streaming, it's a little bit more advanced than just getting on video. But if you're wanting to start live streaming, because there's so much technical anxiety that comes with going online and starting a Zoom meeting, are you on mute yet? Or am I, can you hear me? Can you see my screen? Like those taglines that don't need to be done anymore. Your virtual event checklist, it's on my YouTube. It was a paid course, and then we just launched it on YouTube for free. So you can start there. The education's crazy. But check out my live streams on my social media. Again, the education is the aspect for me, because I'm getting these brand deals and because I'm having the ability to create videos to support myself. It's going to free me up to do this live streaming more, because this is where I love being. I love being in front of the camera. I love running my own show. I don't love editing. I have to do it, but it's like then the power of what I do is here. So being able to come and do the free education is extremely important. So at Garrin Bulani, Garrin Bulani. And again, this is kind of just a process. I'm a young individual. I got a lot of years ahead of me. So I'm going to take advantage of it and just kind of keep growing with where I'm at. So we'll see, man. Maybe next year we'll be talking about this, and I'll have a couple million on TikTok, and we'll be smoking cigars on a private jet or something like that. Who knows?
I'm going to hold you to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a note.
I should say too that there is some great educational content on the YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
The only thing I would recommend, and I know Garrin, that you've mentioned that YouTube isn't necessarily the place that you hang out, but I'd love to see it if you could maybe set up some playlists to organize some of those videos together, because I think that would be really, really powerful. But certainly the virtual event checklist is over there, and you can find out more about that over there as well. If people do actually. Just briefly check in with, there's a comment here I know I definitely want to feature from Insomnia Doodles saying that watching yourself while editing is the worst, but it is important.
Game film. All the pros do it. All the big, even Mr. Beast watches his own stuff. You got to do it, because that's the way you can get better faster, right? It's got to have a little heart to heart with yourself, unfortunately. So as long as it's with yourself, that's okay. That's where the positive affirmations in the mirror come from. That's why you do it, because you're about to go watch yourself. So you got to build yourself up.
Absolutely. So if people want to learn more about you, Garrin, where's the best place to send them?
Great question. So, and this is what I'm doing. Always go to GarrinBulani.com. That's my personal portfolio. So this is the power of a personal brand, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, I'm working with companies and organizations, but that might not necessarily be forever, right? There might be a point where MicroStudio may not be a thing. I hope it does. There we go. There's my portfolio. So GarrinBulani.com is always the place where all my fun stuff and all my content and everything that I'm doing is going to be up to date. Because, let's see, maybe MicroStudio will pop off, but Garrin Bulani will always be there. John Lacey will always be there. Soundproof.tv will always be there. So that's where your professional brand is extremely important. You may just represent an organization at that point. But if you do want to check out MicroStudio, go to microstudio.ca and there'll be a lot of information on there. So.
Absolutely. All right. Actually, just briefly, next week on the show, we're going to be talking about a gift guide for video creators. And I'm just wondering, is there a piece of gear that you might secretly wish that Santa or, I don't know, maybe Juno gives you this year for Christmas?
Yeah, Juno, you listening? That Elgato teleprompter sounds really nice right now. I think that's gonna be a big for those who are maybe, content creation, everything like that, and trying to make something look natural. I think that teleprompter is gonna be a huge thing. I'm a huge Elgato fan. I love what they're doing. So I think that's gonna be the 2024 thing to get, Juno. You see? Let's see. Hopefully.
And just for those that don't know, Juno is your dog. She's a little
She is.
sweetie.
She just hopped off. I can't grab her. Yeah, she's hanging out with me. She's the office manager. She's my little Boston Terrier. She always steals the show. If I can't get any engagements and audio engagements there, I bring out Juno, and then they love that.
Nice.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Garrin. Just hang on the line for a second while we wrap up the show. We'll have a chat in a second. So that's been the show for this week. Again, if there are any if you have any comments or feedback, or you want to let us know anything, please let us know in the chat, or reach out wherever you happen to be seeing this. But Sam, where can people learn more about you and watch your content and all that good stuff?
Yeah, you can head over to samproof.tv, just like Garrin told you, and you'll find all of my social links at the top left there and my portfolio underneath. And we didn't talk about cats whatsoever this episode, which is a horrible shame. So instead, you can head over to cuteavalanche.com and fill your need for cats and cuteness. And take it away, John. Where can they find you? Also, scan
You can catch up with me on johnlacey.com. There are articles and all kinds of things there, but there are also social links at the bottom of the page, so you can check that out. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching this later or joined us live. It's always great to have your company here today. And, like I said, we are going to be talking about gear next week, and it's not something we do super often, so we're really excited to get a little bit nerdy. So we'd love to have your company there, and just keep your eye out on all the various places for the usual links and those sorts of things. But until then, have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.